All right, how's it going today, guys? So I got a video today. We're talking epoxy resin. So epoxy resin for surfboard building. Specifically, I'm going to talk about this stuff here. This is Greenlight Surf Supply's very own brand of marine grade resin or epoxy resin. And I'm going to use it to do the hot coat on this board, because if you follow me and you watch some of my other videos, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this resin over here. This is Resin Research. The beautiful thing about this type of resin is that you can use something called Additive F, which I have. This stuff here is great for preventing amine blush. So that really sticky, weird gummy film. So what this stuff here, Additive F, does with the Resin Research Epoxy is it prevents amine blushing or maybe even bloom, and it's that weird kind of glossy, kind of sticky film that's left on the resin after it cures. Okay, so I've had issues with this, and the paraffin comes out of suspension in this Additive F because I think it's a mixture of xylene and some other proprietary stuff. But xylene and paraffin wax are the key constituents, I believe, of this. And the paraffin, for whatever reason, comes out of suspension, and when you do a gloss coat, you get these little tiny specks, and when you sand, you get a nice smooth finish, but then you get these little tiny pock marks all over the board. Doesn't always happen. I have yet to figure out why it's happening, but it's extremely frustrating. So then for another board, I tried this stuff here, and I haven't edited that video yet. It's on the back burner. I've used Entropy Resins here. I think this is, yeah, Super Sap Entropy Resins. This stuff here is super clear. I had really great success with this. This stuff worked awesome. I picked this stuff up in Canada from Swell Composites out in the West Coast. So I'm going to do a proper review probably about this, or talk about it in the other video eventually, but I can recommend this. Definitely great for a gloss coat. And it's available in Canada, whereas for me, to order Resin Research, I have to get it from the States. Okay, so let's now move on over to Greenlight Surf Supply's very own resin. So I chatted with them, and they said that this resin goes on super flat, and almost might not even have to sand it. That's how flat it goes. Now, I'm a little skeptical about that, but we'll see. One thing I do notice is that it's very clear. So we got the resin here, looks pretty clear, and then the hardener. This resin here, not sponsored. I bought this resin. I wanted to give it a try. I do have a good relationship with Greenlight. They gave me some suggestions. Don't do cross strokes when laying this resin down. Use your lengthwise strokes. We'll see how that goes. One thing I do notice, and why I think they're saying that it flows so well, is because look at the hardener. Look how, like, not viscous this is. It flows really nice. So we'll see how that goes. So let's do a hot coat and see how it comes out. All right, I got my chip brush. I'm gonna mix out some resin on the scale. Always use a scale to mix your resin. At least in my opinion, it's more accurate than mixing by volume. And all right, let's do it. I've already wiped down the board with acetone, although I will have to re-wipe this area down because I have been putting my hands on it and stuff. So not great, but okay, let's do it. And then we'll check back to see the results. At first glance, this resin is super clear. In terms of volatile organic compounds, VOCs, not bad. Okay, it's very clear. Try not to stir in any air. Wow. Like, incredible how good this stuff is. Okay, this epoxy hasn't set yet, but like you can still hear it dripping. Wow, holy crap, how smooth, how level. It is phenomenal how good this looks. Yeah, you could almost get away without wet sanding this if you really wanted to. We'll see how it sets. We'll come back in a couple hours, pull the tape, and see how the finish is. But first impressions, yeah, I'm digging it. It's been about 3 hours, so I'm just pulling the tape. Check out this finish. It's like freaking amazing how good it is. This Greenlight marine grade epoxy has saved me a ton of time. After I use up my supply of resin research, I'm going to switch over to this stuff. I'm going to test out a few more other types of resins as well, now that there's like more selection out there in the market. When I first started building boards, resin research was like leaps and bounds better than everyone else. But since then, they've kind of fallen behind a little bit in my opinion. But this Greenlight marine grade epoxy has me stoked for future builds. I didn't have to sand down the Glosscoat except for where the tape line is around the rail and also around the rail dam at the tail of the board. This saved me a ton of wet sanding, and it's not like 100% perfect, but it's like 95% perfect. So, you know, if you're going for like a totally flat showroom finish, well then maybe you might sand it, but this looks pretty showroom finish to me. It's nice and glossy, it's smooth, it leveled out really nice. Greenlight's resin also has built-in like surfacing agents, I believe, to help it smooth it out. So it's kind of like I don't think it's Additive F or anything like that, but they've done something to it to make it level out really nice. It's also got like UV inhibitors, so hopefully this board won't turn yellow for quite some time, because most epoxies or all epoxies do yellow over time. I'm not going to list out all the specs of the resin, but you can just go on their website and read up on it for yourself. So for some tips when doing a gloss coat like this, or gloss coats in general, try not to mix air bubbles into it. Pour the resin out completely on the board so it doesn't exotherm. Plow the resin around on the board with a nice wide chip brush. The wider the brush, the better. Brush it out, and the best thing to do is not over brush it. Greenlight told me to avoid doing like the cross strokes on it, but I still had to do a little bit of that to level out the epoxy. And make sure you're gloss coating at like room temperature. Don't do it in low temperature, obviously, because the resin won't flow as well and it won't cure or harden up correctly. And in this instance, basically less is more. Don't screw with it once you know you got it all leveled out. One thing I noticed is Greenlight's resin has very low VOCs. I still used a respirator when I was using it, but the hardener has virtually like no odor to it, which is awesome. So that's like, you know, a big plus. If you're interested in trying out this resin, head on over to Greenlight Surf Supply. My affiliate link is in the description box below. Also, I can recommend, hold on one second. I should have did this earlier. But these were the resins that I've used so far. I've used some other ones as well, but these are the ones that I'm using currently. This Entropy stuff here is really good, very clear. It just didn't level out, I find, as nice as the Greenlight stuff. This is the resin research, obviously, so I'm probably, once I use up all of this stuff, I am switching over to some of these other resin systems, specifically the Greenlight stuff. I am totally in love with this stuff. It works so good. And I also see Amazon sells a few different types of resins for epoxy pour art. You know, the stuff that you see on TikTok. So I'm going to order some of that stuff and try that out and see what happens. It looks pretty good. It's a good price as well. So I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on epoxy. Like and subscribe, hit the bell icon and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video, which will be probably building out this board right here. This 8-foot stand-up paddleboard, which in my very, very humble opinion came out freaking awesome. All right, later.